We do want to tell you about some breaking news that we have now out of LeClaire. We are told there is a barge, a very large barge actually, that's in some kind of distress in LeClaire. You can see it along the riverfront there. We don't really know what's happening with that barge at this point in time, but it is something we are looking into, and we hope to bring you more information on what's going on in LeClaire with that barge tonight in your news at 5 and of course at 6 as well.
We begin with breaking news tonight at 5 out of LeClaire right now.
Yeah, a boat that typically pushes along barges on the river is itself sinking. Let's go ahead and take a look at that right now. We have our live sky cam from LeClaire. I can tell you that during the 4 o'clock news hour, the boat there, which you see on in the center of your screen, was pretty much had water up to the first deck. Now it's actually tipped on its side and partially submerged in the Mississippi.
And we're not exactly sure at this point exactly what happened here. We do believe that 2 boats may have collided by the shoreline there, and as you can see, if you look to the right, just over those trees and to the right, you can see the water line up to past that first level on the back side of the boat. Front side still appears to be up somewhat above water, but that boat appears to be sinking fast tonight.
Yeah, we do have a reporter on the way to the scene, and we'll have a live report and hopefully can find out exactly what is happening and what they're going to do to try to get this boat back out of the water.
And we'll continue to share more information on air on our website, KWQC.com. Conversation going on about this on Twitter as well.
And now bring you an update on some breaking news out of LeClaire. A barge is sitting here along the side of the Mississippi River here just across from Mother Hubbard's in LeClaire, and it is sinking. I don't know if you can see it, but just behind me you can see that pretty much the entire first deck is actually underwater, and we have seen police and fire making their way down to the water and dropping some absorbent materials, and we don't know if anything's leaking right now. It could be a precautionary measure, but we do know that the police and fire are here as well as the Coast Guard trying to stop or at least contain this tugboat that is sinking right now. It was called a vessel accident. It started about 4:30 today. That's when we first heard word that something was going on here in LeClaire. I can tell you that I saw several of the crew members. They are ashore, and I talked to one of them. He said everybody made it out okay, but right now we're still getting some details, and we'll bring them to you as soon as we can get them. But right now what we know is there is a tugboat sinking, or presumably not anymore. I haven't seen it drop anymore, but it has been sinking here along the Mississippi in LeClaire. We're trying to get some more details as we figure them out. We'll have more for you tonight at 6. Live in LeClaire, Taylor Umland, KWQC, TV6 News.
And we start at 6 tonight with developing news out of LeClaire. Good evening, I'm Paula Sands.
And I'm Gary Bativier. A boat that typically pushes along barges along the river is apparently, at least in part, sinking tonight. KWQC Taylor Umland is up in the LeClaire area with the latest from there right now. Taylor?
Yeah, Gary, details still a little sketchy, but here's what we know right now. Police, fire, all here, Coast Guard as well, putting protective absorbent materials in the water because a boat is sinking here in LeClaire just across from the Mother Hubbard's cupboard. But what they're doing is they're putting some absorbent material into the water. We don't really know why, but the thought is that they're putting it in because there might be dangerous materials from the boat going into the water. This is a tugboat, something that would be used to guide barges up and down the river. But one thing, what we can tell you is that this happened about 4:30 this afternoon. Like I said, Coast Guard is here. This is the boat called the Stephen Colby of Marquette Transportation. Crew members are safe. I talked to them earlier, and everybody is accounted for. They're not here right now. They were taken away from the scene, but right now we do know that fire, Coast Guard, police, they're all here making sure the water is as safe as possible and trying to contain this situation and honestly just make sure it doesn't get worse. We'll let you know if we get any more details throughout the evening, and make sure you're checking back to our website as well. Live in LeClaire, Taylor Umland, KWQC, TV6 News.
Taylor, thank you. An update now on a story we brought you as breaking news earlier. Police, fire, and Coast Guard crews all in the scene in Clare today after a 140-foot towboat used to guide barges up and down the river began sinking in the Mississippi. Let's take a live look now. You can see the UTV Stephen L. Colby is still in the water tonight. You can see there was listing a bit. The boat was punctured south of the Quad Cities when it apparently hit a submerged object. That boat is holding about 100,000 gallons of fuel. Divers were in the water tonight trying to determine what the damage is and whether or not any fuel is leaking from it. Crews on scene are investigating the extent of the damage and what sort of leak they may be dealing with, if any, tonight. The police chief in LeClaire says you cannot be too careful.
89,000 gallons is a significant amount of fuel. It'll disperse in the water if it's not contained, and then can be an environmental issue. And that's what, at this point, we have no injuries. Everybody is safe. So that's our next priority.
Officials say their goal is to contain the fuel, but eventually they'll have to try to get this boat out of the water. We're told that probably won't happen until later this week. We'll continue to bring you updates as they come in on this developing story.
More this morning on breaking news that we first brought you yesterday. Cleanup is now underway after a towboat sank and released oil into the Mississippi River near LeClaire last night.
We had a towboat that obviously took on water and fortunately made it to shore. It was a good spot if he was going to be anywhere. Good spot to be, gave us accessibility to it. The whole incident is still under investigation, no cause as of yet. We've deployed containment booms, and there is a small amount of fuel that has come out of the vessel.
A diver was working last night to close the vents that were leaking oil. Now, officials say because it floats, the oil is not a risk to drinking water. Towboat will stay where it is for now while a recovery team heads upriver. That team from St. Louis is expected to get there on Friday. No one was hurt in the accident.
First, we have an update on a sunken towboat in LeClaire. It's still there. You can see the pilot house along the shoreline, courtesy of our live LeClaire cam. And it is still leaking oil, but the situation is not as serious as once feared. The boat began sinking yesterday afternoon. An official with the Coast Guard says thanks to the quick emergency response, they were able to prevent a large amount of oil from leaking. Crews have set up booms to contain the oil spill of about 100 gallons, and divers are on the scene to plug the holes. Soon, more divers will arrive to help raise the boat out of the water. River traffic is still closed in that area, so the goal is to get the river back open as soon as possible. No one was hurt, and we still don't know what caused the towboat to sink.
I can't believe that something like this would happen.
People who typically come to downtown LeClaire for shopping and small-town attractions are getting a glimpse of a large-scale emergency response.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, not at all, actually. No, I've seen a boat sink, a little boat, but never a big one like that. That's pretty intense.
A sunken towboat with 16 feet of river water inside of it. It's certainly something to see, but it's also an accident with the potential for a serious environmental impact.
There is over 100,000 gallons of petroleum products on board this ship, and it is our major concern that we limit the impact to the environment.
Cleanup crews like EnviroMark are working to contain and recover much of the oil that has been leaking over the past 24 hours. These yellow barricades you see in the water are containment booms. Thousands of feet have been deployed to stop the spread of oil. Wrapped in clear plastic, you can see some of the containment booms that have been pulled from the river. This red liquid you see here is oil that was leaking from the towboat. Professional divers have also been hired to survey the ship and plug up any holes that could be leaking unsafe chemicals into the river.
Despite these actions, oil still is leaking out. That oil has reached down to Lock and Dam 14, and that is approximately 5 river miles down the way.
Still, they say it's roughly 500 gallons of oil that spilled from the sunken towboat.
That is actually a small fraction.
The situation could have been 200 times worse.